It just depends how you frame it, I think. But if you're the type of guy that walks in the gym and you're like, I look freaking awesome, you're probably not Mr. Olympia. Because I don't think even Mr. Olympia, the top level of bodybuilding, I don't think they are happy with everything, even the best people in the world. And it's kind of that like catch-22. Like, you gotta not be happy to be the best in some ways, or not. You can be happy, but content. You can't ever be content. Always seeking, but it's like out of this constant desire to keep getting better that you're looking for anything that's wrong. We have this movement right now, like this body positivity movement. I mean, even if you're 500 pounds, like, love your body. You still got it. Like, you're here, you're breathing, you woke up this morning, you're still winning, dude. You still got time to lose 400 pounds.
Welcome back to Plant Fueled. If you're new here, welcome. If you're a returning legend, welcome back. As always, I'm your host, Callum Weir. Today's episode is one that strips back the noise, the image and the highlight reel, to get into the raw reality of what it means to grow up, chase strength, and wrestle the weight of expectation, inside and outside the gym. My guest is John Thomas, better known online as the Bodybuilding Vegan. But this conversation is not just about bench press and biceps. It's about childhood struggles, bullying, the search for identity, and the way that fitness can become both a refuge and a prison. We go deep into bodybuilding culture, the discipline, the obsession, and yes, the taboo topic of steroids. John doesn't sugarcoat it. He talks openly about the pressures, the choices, and the consequences. And just as importantly, we explore what it means to shift from chasing numbers on a barbell to cultivating a healthier and more mindful mindset that can actually last a lifetime. This episode is part storytelling, part wake-up call, and part blueprint to anyone who's ever tied their self-worth to their physique, or questioned whether the grind is even worth it. Together we get into multiple subjects. Growing up in a world where bullying shapes your sense of self, how bodybuilding offered John an escape, the realities of steroid use, what it gives, what it takes, and what's left after. Why veganism became part of his journey, and how that shifted his perspective on strength. And then the difference between chasing aesthetics and building a sustainable, healthy body. And the mental reset it takes to stop treating gym as a punishment and start treating it as empowerment. This isn't a how to get shredded conversation. It's about resilience, identity, and the lessons you don't really see in the Instagram captions. So, before we dive in, look, I don't ask for much, but here's the deal. If you're listening and getting value from these conversations, the best way you can support this podcast is simply hit follow, drop a star rating, share it with a mate, whatever the platform you use allows you to do. Think of it like spotting me on my last rep. I could probably grind it out myself, but with your help, the lift goes up cleaner, faster, and then we all get stronger. Alright, to John Thomas. Let's dive in. Peace and plants. John, it's a pleasure to have you here, buddy.
Third time's a charm. I'm glad we were able to make it work, and I'm excited for getting to share some like real authentic conversation back and forth for the next hour.
To this day, and I think almost every day, multiple times a week, and you probably get it as well, is there's this, although there's information out there, although there's like knowledge out there, and there's the amount of athletes, much like you out there's still this missing gap. This kind of piece of fundamental, information that seems to be glazed over, which of course is that it's impossible to be muscular on plants. You can't be healthy on plants. You can't be building muscle on plants. You can't be, whatever on plants. It's just kind of meat, like it's either meat or the highway. There's kind of like no in between.
Yeah, it astounds me. I'm coming up like next month. Put it this way. I didn't know when I went vegan that this was going to be life-changing. I didn't realize this was going to become my life, that I was going to get it tattooed on the side of my head, become a bodybuilder. I just went vegan when I realized the horrors of the egg and dairy industry. That was literally it. Like, it wasn't like, so I didn't like write down like, oh, I'm going to convert to vegan on this day. So I don't know exactly when I went vegan, but it's almost been 20 years. Like I'm within a year of 20 years, like within a few months of 20 years. And what amazes me is still, even though I've been in this for so long, it seems like you'd think with the internet, like, because back when I started, there was magazines, but the internet and everything else, you think that people would have a little bit more knowledge and realize that, one, plants have protein, like that's so obvious, but two, plants also have vitamins, minerals, nutrients, and these people are still so stuck on, if I don't eat this animal or this part of an animal, like their egg or their milk, I'm going to be missing out. And it's like, what do you think that animal ate? Like, we're not eating other carnivores. We're not like a carnivore that has to eat carnivores. Like, I don't even know if that's a thing, but like other animals get everything they need from plants. Don't even worry about supplements or anything like that. They're just fine. So, and then again, I've been vegan 20 years myself, and people are like, well, there's deficiencies. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, sorry to get long-winded, but usually I like the little shtick I'll tell people is like, when you go vegan, you are going to miss out on some things. You're going to miss out not only on animal cruelty, but heart attacks, strokes, type 2 diabetes, things like that. Those are the things you get to look forward to missing out on. So just every day, man, every day. I mean, I try to wear this vegan message everywhere I go. I encourage any other vegans out there. Get a vegan shirt, get a vegan hat, get a vegan head tattoo, whatever your comfort level is, so that when you walk around, people will know. And then one, you'll find friends because there might be that one other vegan at the gym. But two, then people will ask you questions. And some of them will be legitimate, like, whoa, how can I get vegan protein? I really want to know. Or others will come in with gotchas, be like, oh yeah, I bet you take protein powder. I bet you take a lot of supplements because you're unhealthy without those supplements. It's just like the lack of knowledge surrounding nutrition still blows my mind. But yeah, I agree.
I think yeah, like the people that will come up to you and talk about it are the people still drinking whey protein powders that are kind of like, hey, you're deficient. I'm like, we're not held up by the protein powder industry. Like it's a good 1% of plant proteins maybe compared to what like whey. So like I don't see the logic in it. But I'm guessing as well, like for a lot of people online, they obviously see you and it's impossible. But I think like when you meet you for, like face to face, it's kind of impossible to say that you can't do it when you are the size you are. Like you can't really come up to you face by face, like muscles on muscles, and just be like, it's impossible.
Yeah, and I like to think I'm a little bit larger in real life too. I guess your audience might use a different system, but in the United States we use feet, and I'm 6 feet tall. So often on Reddit, people will be like, "He's not really that big. He's like 5 feet tall," and I'm like, "What are you talking? I'm 6 feet, 250 pounds. Like I'm actually 258 pounds this morning. I'm a pretty large individual, and so I'll get all the hate online, I'll get all the questions online, but in person, it's a bit more rare. And I've started to push people a bit. Like I view this as like I used to just ask or answer questions, but now I try to ask questions. And so, like at the gym the other day, this younger young man, he actually pretty strong. He had some questions for me, um, and so I gave him some of the scientific answers about protein and things like that. But then I asked him like, let's dive into the ethics, dude. Like you seem like a pretty happy guy. Do you like killing animals for fun? And he's like, no. And I'm like, well, how many animals have you killed with your bare hands? Uh, None. Like, okay. But you eat meat, right? Yeah. How do you think you'd feel if you killed an animal right now? "Well, I don't think I'd like it." Okay. So even if we take the animal out of the equation, how do you think that person that had to kill 500 animals a day so that you could get your hamburger, how do you think they felt? And like try to put a little bit back on them, and not out of this is not out of superiority. I'm not better than anybody. I'm not perfect. If I was, I would have told my mom as a 6-month infant whenever she first tried to feed me something that wasn't vegan. I would have said, "No, I'm vegan." But I'm not perfect. I didn't come out of the womb perfect. I'm still not perfect. But what I realize is, at 10 years old, I had a really close friend explain to me how I was wrong for eating a hamburger and that I was killing a cow. And it took me a few months to really wrap my head around that. The whole time I knew she was right, but I had all these barriers to break down. Like, why would my parents let me do this? Why would society do this? It's the circle of life, right? But I knew the whole time she was right. I was just fighting it. And so finally I gave in and I went vegetarian. And like I said, at 13, 3 years later, I went vegan when I learned about the dairy and egg industries. But my whole point is, something like if I hadn't read that PETA magazine at 13, how long would it have taken me to go vegan? And so, at least for me, I think going vegan was the absolute single best decision of my entire life. And so I encourage other vegans to politely try to share that with as many people as you can, because somebody had to get through to us. And if we can help get through to somebody else earlier, that's like a gift that we can give early.
13's quite young to, make those kind of connections, especially going 16 and then obviously going vegan as well, which is kind of the age where people really cave into like, societal pressures, friendships. You can be like the odd one out, and like it's such a young age, it's such a pivotal age where people kind of don't want to be excluded for who they are. So they kind of like, just kind of join in, do whatever they do, have the McDonald's, join in the parties, drink, smoke, eat, whatever. Like it's that young age where everybody's trying to really fit in as well.
Yeah. And for me, I got weird hair now, and I'm okay with that. It's my choice. When I was a kid, my dad grew out, they call it a rat tail, and it's like just
Oh, I know the
kind
one.
of
Yeah.
ugly piece. I mean, I've seen some other people with them, and I'm like, bro, why do you have that? And then I'm like, you know what? I'm glad you have that because you're making that conscious choice, and if that makes you happy, you should do what makes you happy. But for me, I did it because my dad thought it was cool. I didn't want to disappoint my dad, and I also like ran into a couch and knocked my front teeth out, so I had these like, rabbit teeth, and I got bullied every single day between the hair and the teeth, every single day from like first grade until I shaved my head in eighth grade to donate the hair to some kids with cancer. And I had already been that odd one out. I had already known what it was like to get physically, emotionally, mentally bullied, verbally bullied by these kids at school. And so I do think that that kind of coincided with going vegan. It was like I could kind of relate to the animals. I already knew what it was like to be an outsider. So adding vegetarian or vegan on top of it probably won't hurt me that much. But I didn't share it. I think I was vegan for 16 or 17 years before I got a vegan t-shirt. Of course, my Instagram handle for like the last 13 years has always been the Bodybuilding Vegan, but I didn't tell people in person. They'd have to ask me like, "Oh, do you have Instagram?" And then I share it. And then they find out. Like I didn't put it out there because I was so afraid of continuing to not fit in. And so it is hard. I think that's the hardest part about veganism. It's not hard to find good food. It's not hard to find, healthy food. It's not hard to build muscle. It's hard to be different from the average person or different from everyone else. And a lot of people struggle with that. Until you learn to love yourself and love who you are on the inside, it's hard to look at what society does and say, nope, I'm not going to do that. And so I think if we lived in a different world, if we lived in a different society where everyone was vegan and you had to run out and chase an animal down and kill it with your bare hands, I think 99% of the population would be vegan because it'd just be what everybody else already does. That's the world that I'm trying to work towards. But yeah, I'm rambling now. But to get back to your point, I think that's the single hardest part about veganism is just being different than the average person.
Do you think being bullied, like, is that kind of reason that you kind of got or drove you towards bodybuilding? Because I know when I've spoken to other bodybuilders in the past, a lot of people, or that in that industry, athletes as well, there was always kind of a why, whether that be an experience when they were younger, maybe when they felt they were like an outcast when they were young, maybe they were a skinnier, weaker kid. And it always seems to be kind of some origin story deep down.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I idolize and look at a lot of other, elite people. Elite, just, what have they achieved versus other people trying to achieve the same thing. So you look at somebody like David Goggins.
Mm.
Everybody knows him for being crazy and for running a lot. And honestly, like my true belief, I'm not an expert in running, but I bet he's not the best runner on the planet. But I bet he's been through the most shit in his head that he can draw on for energy and inspiration when other people have nothing left to draw upon. And reliving the abuse of his childhood is what allows him to run further than anyone else, whether or not he's the best runner. I mean, even people like Arnold Schwarzenegger had a pretty rough childhood. I think like Muhammad Ali, countless other athletes that are at the top of their game. Like usually, if you look at home life or things like that, they didn't have a super easy childhood. Um, and I definitely think that, so my backstory is I wrestled at 14 and I did pretty well for like my first year ever wrestling. I beat a lot of kids older than me. Um, and I didn't have any stigma against being vegan. Like I didn't think vegan would hold me back or anything like that. Um, and so I never worked any harder or less hard. I just fit in. Of course, I didn't really tell too many people. And then 15 years old, season ended, and we started weightlifting. and I got hooked. Like I went to the gym one day to lift weights and I never went back to wrestle until a fight in high school years later where I wanted to get some training and to prepare for this fight. But that's a whole different thing. But I loved lifting weights. And I think what I loved about it was it's you. You know, like if you wrestle, like maybe you win, maybe you lose, but some of that depends upon your opponent. They could suck or they could be great. Whereas weightlifting, like, and I was mostly interested in strength when I first started. Like, if I did 100 for 10 this week, if I could do 105 for 10 next week or 100 for 11 next week, I've done better. Compared to me, I've done better. And nobody else can slow me down. My team can't be late. My team can't have an off day. Like team sports like soccer, like, it's a bad pass. Like, that's not on me. It's all on me. And I think I loved having that feeling of control, especially like when you're being bullied, you feel like you don't have control. And I kind of realized that I can build my body and grow into this sport. And I kind of felt like once I'm big enough, once I'm so big, people won't mess with me anymore. And that's the route that I'm going to take this. And really, like, I probably should have gotten into MMA because a big bodybuilder that doesn't know how to fight is kind of useless. But like, if I was an MMA fighter, it wouldn't matter how big I am, I could still fight. But kind of creating this artificial shield of armor, if you will. But what I think is beautiful, at least in my own story, is bodybuilding has taught me how strong I am. And I don't mean physically, I mean mentally. And I think that if, you know, I get hit by a car today and I can never lift again, I go back to 130 pounds like I was in high school, I think I'm still going to have that same mentality. And I don't think they can ever take that from me. And so on this way of building this fake shield of armor, I've been able to actually build up the mental resolve to learn to love myself, to forgive all the people that hurt me. Like when I look back, like I got bullied pretty badly by a few kids in particular. And like, I can only imagine what was happening at their house, at their home. Maybe they were taking food from me because they didn't have food to eat. Like, I don't know what they were going. Maybe they were beating me because their dad was beating them, or maybe they didn't have a dad and their mom was beating them. Like, I don't know where they came from, and I don't wish what happened to me to be done to anyone else, but it did happen to me, and it made me who I am now. And so, I don't know. I think maybe had I not been bullied, had I just been loved by everybody, maybe I wouldn't be a bodybuilder. Maybe I wouldn't be here talking to you. I like to think I'd still be vegan though.
With that, does it build confidence once you start lifting those weights and you kind of build that body and that like shield of armor? Does the confidence come with that? Because like from what you see on obviously online, and online is always kind of a fake reality as such. You seem like a very confident.
I think I've realized a few things. One is fake it until you make it. Like that applies in so many areas. I think anything new is scary. And I also think too, if you're scared to try something, then you should. So like, for example, a past career I had, I was a corrections officer. And like my first like real day on the job, I was still like kind of in training, but I was assigned to a unit with 70 inmates, 70 men, first and second story. And they say, go in there and tell them it's time to eat. And so I go in, I'm like, all right, guys, it's time to eat. I go out, and like my training officer laughed at me. He's like, "What are you doing?" And then they all started yelling. They're like, "We can't hear you. We can't hear you." And I'm just sitting there like barely shitting my pants. Like, what am I supposed to do? And he's like, "You need to go back in there and get them to know it's time to eat." So I go in there and yell, and I became known as the officer that yells at everybody. I'm like, "Well, I'm not yelling at you. I'm yelling into the room, but you will all hear me." And if I came with that energy every time, even if I was still scared shitless the first month, nobody tried me. I just had that fake it, and I faked it for a while until I realized it worked. And then I'm like, okay, I can lean into this. But I think with bodybuilding, you get confidence in different areas. I think like if I had a magic wand and younger me, 13-year-old me, 14-year-old me that was 130 pounds, if I just waved the wand and doubled him in size and he's 260, he's not going to have that same confidence because it's just handed to him. I think what built the confidence for him was learning his own strength, continually going in and finding out where's failure. Not like you stop at 10 because it's hard. You go to 12 and then you try for 13, you try for 14, you try for 15. You think about your family dying if you don't get 16. You think about your girlfriend dying if you don't get 17. You think about 500 cows dying if you don't get 18. And then you try for 19 and you collapse on the floor. having that mindset every time you go into the gym shows you just how much you can handle. And I think a lot of the confidence is built through that. I do a lot of hard things. I luckily have a girlfriend now, so I'm not asking girls on dates. But I've give a little backstory. I've launched a vegan squad coaching, so it's a vegan coaching team. I've got a lot of people counting on me. There's a lot of pressure there. Um, I sometimes get scared of how we're going to figure things out or how we're going to make the finances work. I mean, we're doing well to start, but there's always these what ifs. But for me, I have about 2 hours every week that I go train legs, and there's nothing harder than that. There's nothing harder. There's getting surgery is easier, going to the dentist, trying to have a really difficult conversation with my girlfriend, trying to make life-changing decisions for this company. Nope, none of that is harder than the leg day. Like, there's nothing harder than that. So I view that as like, if I can get through those 2 hours, I can do anything else for the next week. So, um, yeah, I think the confidence is kind of twofold. It's not just the size. Like I have the size now, but I'll be honest with you, like I don't realize I'm this large. I often walk into people and objects. I still in my head think I'm this 130-pound kid. I will I will hate how I look in the mirror 99% of the time, but sometimes I'm at the gym and there's like a mirror here and a mirror here, and I'll see this super jacked dude over in the corner. I'm like, holy fuck, that guy's big. Wait, he's got a green mohawk. Oh, that's me. No, never mind. He's not that big. He's not that big. So I still struggle a little bit to see where I'm at in some ways, but yeah, I guess very long-winded. The confidence is twofold. It's not just how you look. It's what did you do to get.
Yeah, I think you mentioned two things there that curious about is obviously you seeing yourself in a mirror and not liking yourself the majority of the time. Is that I think for a lot of people, no matter what way they go, whether there's kind of like, whether it's weight loss, whether it's weight gain or getting muscular, it's the same as people that are trying to get rich. It's never enough, I guess, sometimes. So sometimes it comes under that whole body dysmorphia kind of term, I guess. Is that what you would say you're going through? Like when you are looking and being like, hey, I could be bigger than this. Like I'm small in comparison to what I could be.
Yeah, I think I would identify a bit with body dysmorphia, um, and I think it's just kind of like I almost think you have to get to this spot. Like let's we have this movement right now, like this body positivity movement. I mean, even if you're 500 pounds, like love your body. You still got it. Like you're here, you're breathing. You woke up this morning, you're still winning, dude. You still got time to lose 400 pounds. Like you're still here. Love your body. And I love my body, even though it's not, you know, not yet where I'd love for it to be. I don't think it'll ever be where I love for it to be. I don't think this journey will ever end. Eventually, 32 going on 33. Eventually I'll hit the top of this bell curve and there won't be a way to add anymore. There will be the downward trend. Probably at that point, I'll pick up another hobby that I can get good at for a while before there's downward trend there. But like for bodybuilding, it's a weird sport because it's not how much weight did you lift, it's not how many people did you knock out, it's how do you look. And so like for a normal person, let's say you're a chess player or even a tennis player, how you look doesn't really impact your game. So you don't obsess over it. I think, like, for example, if we took Serena Williams and played her a video back of one of her matches and asked her to comment on each one of her swings, maybe her swing is better than 99% of the people in the world will ever do. But she's like, my racket could have been just a little twisted, or my arm could have been a little straighter. I don't know. I'm not a tennis player, so I don't know these things, but I could have done this. I could have done that. I could have made it just a little bit better here. And she's not hating on her tennis racket or her tennis ability. She's just finding areas that it could be better. And I think to be a bodybuilder at the top of your game, when you look in the mirror, you're not like, oh yeah, my legs are fucking awesome. Like I have big legs, personally. But I'm like, my arms could be a bit bigger. My abs could be a little tighter. Um, and so it's not necessarily out of hate, but it's like out of this constant desire to keep getting better that you're looking for anything that's wrong. And you just got to be careful with it because if you're constantly putting yourself, if you're like, oh, my arms suck, versus, all right, I got a little bit of extra energy. We can work on arms. Arms need a little bit more love. Like, it just depends how you frame it, I think. But if you're the type of guy that walks in the gym and you're like, I look freaking awesome, you're probably not Mr. Olympia. because I don't think even Mr. Olympia, the top level of bodybuilding, I don't think they are happy with everything, even the best people in the world. And it's kind of that like catch 22. Like you gotta not be happy to be the best in some ways, or not. You can be happy, but content. You can't ever be content. Always seeking.
Yeah, as you mentioned, like obviously Mr. Olympia, and I think I heard on a podcast recently with Chris Bumstead that he's still not happy with the way he looks, and he is huge. He is one of the biggest people I've ever seen, and still, even at the top of his game and with all the medals and Mr. Olympia, he's still not content.
Yeah, it's in some ways it's sad, but in other ways, like if he was content, he wouldn't be who he was.
Mm.
So that's how I view it.
I guess as well, you have to have a lot of confidence to shave your head and put vegan on the side of it as well. And I think that's one of the things that has come up a few times when I've mentioned that you're coming on to a few people. Is that like why the giant vegan? Why the shaved mohawk, green hair, giant vegan on the side?
I'll be completely honest with you. I am getting a little bit more confident. I mean, I showed up for this interview without a shirt. At first, I was like, I don't know if I should do that, but then again, I haven't put on a shirt today, so I'm like, whatever, I'll do it. I'll be funny. I'm okay with that too. I was at the gym doing cardio this morning without a shirt, like a little apartment gym. Like one of the managers came in, and I was like, I hope they don't give me any crap for not having my shirt on, but like, I'm literally standing like 3 feet out the door. I'd be at the pool, and you don't need a shirt at the pool. I don't know. I think society's funny that way. Anyways, the green hair, the vegan head tattoo, those are all new things for me. About 4 years ago, I competed in a bodybuilding show, and one of the women that really stepped up and helped me, she was my business partner, best friend's stepmom. And she had about 10 years prior battled breast cancer and survived. And she told herself if she lived through it, she was going to get a pink mohawk. And so she always had a pink mohawk. So I didn't tell anybody, I didn't tell her, but I decided before the stage, in dedication to her for all the help she gave me. She helped me through some like relationship shit that I was going through. I dyed my hair pink, did the mohawk. That was it for a while. But then I did blue because blue's my favorite color, believe it or not. But then I did green. And so many people, everywhere we go, I was with like my ex-girlfriend and they'd be like, oh my God, I love your hair. And she'd be like, oh, thanks. So like, actually, I was talking to him and I'm like, oh gosh. But it fits with the vegan message. And so then I thought about it. I wear a vegan shirt everywhere I go. It's the only shirts I own. If they don't say vegan or plant-based, I don't wear them. Like for the last 2-3 years. And so I'm like, man, what if I'm at the beach? What if I'm somewhere like today without a shirt? Like, how do I get this message out? And something popped in my head. I was like, head tattoo. It's like, that's a little nuts. Like my first tattoo ever was vegan on my forearm. And then I had another V tattoo put on my hand. And then I have this little secret V tattoo on the inside here. And then I was like, fuck it. Head tattoo. Let's do it. So I was supposed to be at an event and the event got rained out. So I'm like, all right, plan B, fundraiser for head tattoo. I called up 3 people. The third person answered. Yabonks is his name on Instagram. He's awesome.
I know him.
Yeah. Okay. You know him. Yeah. He's honestly, I'll tell you, no shit, Colin. Like, I think he might be the purest person I've ever met. I've never seen him angry. I've never seen him say a bad word about other people, even people that deserve bad words. He just like will shake his head and just keep his mouth shut. If I'm talking crap about some horrible person, he'll just nod and shake his head. And that's it. He won't jump in. He won't get into the negativity. Every waking hour of his life, I believe he is putting towards making the world a better place. So I called him. He was helping run. He founded a Karma Farm Sanctuary. I said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this head tattoo. What if we offered a live stream and if we raised $5,000 for charity for your sanctuary? And he's like, I'm so in. I was like, I knew you'd be. You're crazy like me. So we gave ourselves a week and I put in the first $500. And like 3 days in, we were at $900. But I had called him 2 days in and said, I'm going to pay the 5 either way. Like your sanctuary's getting $5,000. And so now I'm like shitting bricks. And I'm like, I got to come up with $4,000. And I already put 500 in. But we found this like wealthy crypto guy that offered to match it if we got halfway. So we got 2,500 like halfway through the week. He matched the other 2,500, and I think like by the time it was said and done after the live stream, we raised like $9,000 for the sanctuary. So people all the time are like, "Oh, you're so stupid for getting a head tattoo," and I'm like, "Oh, at least we raised 9 grand." But I was going to do it anyways because I'm me. I don't know how many days I'm going to be left on this earth. I want to enjoy each one and fuck it, get a head tattoo. Why not? Life's short. And it started so many conversations. And all of this to say, sorry, getting so long-winded here, but I appreciate the questions and letting me kind of reflect. But I'm an introvert. I might look like this big, scary bodybuilder. In fact, I'll put it this way, 13-year-old me would be terrified to talk to 32-year-old me. He would never, like the young me would never come up and approach me now. Never in a million years. And like, case in point, that's another tangent. I'm at the gym. This dude comes up to me. He's like, "Wow, you're big, dude. Like, oh, like let me talk to you. Like, dude, what do you do? Like, you coach? Okay, blah 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 blah." I was like, "Why is this guy talking to me? Like, he's so big. Like, I would be intimidated to talk to him." And I was like, "Dude, you're huge. How much do you weigh?" And he's like, 220. And I'm like, "Oh, I got 40 pounds on you." I still don't see myself the way that I am and the way that other people see me. So anyways, I know I'm somewhat unapproachable. I used to wear all black to the gym. I'd have the beard and a black beanie. I didn't get talked to for months. I looked like I was in a biker gang about to rob a bank. Now I'll wear like rainbow shoes, some psychedelic mushroom socks, a pink tank top, the green hair. I try to rock a smile because that goes the distance too. And people will come up and talk to me now. So head tattoo, green hair. It's just to be like almost like a peacock, you know? Like that's how they get attention, and this is how I get attention because I don't really like to go up and invade other people's privacy, but like I try to dress in a way that people feel comfortable to come invade my privacy and get conversations started. I think it helps, and I don't always see it because I'm still that like kind of shy, scared kid. So I kind of look down and like look at my feet and things. My girlfriend's like, "People are staring at you. People are talking about you." I'm like, "Who? Where? What?" She's like, "Those 3 kids. Like they're like talking about you, pointing at you." And like I'm like, "Oh." And wherever I go, for better or for worse, I can't escape it now. I mean, got the vegan on my head, and I carry around 260 pounds. Like it's hard for me to hide. So it's all like an act. It's just another way. That's why I do crazy things on Instagram. Some of it's me. I like to be a little silly, but like ultimately, everything that I do has this like the first thought is like, how does this help the vegan mission? And I think by putting it out there, you know, this is my activism. This is me making up for lost time because I've been vegan 20 years. Big whoop. Pat me on the back, sure, whatever. But like, I would say I've been an activist for 3. So I've got some friends that have been vegan for 5 and activists for 4. I'm like, you're ahead of me. You're leading the way. Just because you're vegan, if you don't ever talk about it, if you don't ever share it, how much are you really changing? I mean, it's like, it's almost like I don't know if it's proper PC or not, but it's almost like a bystander during a Holocaust. Like, just because you're not killing anybody doesn't mean you're saving anybody. And if you're vegan and you stay at home and you don't tell anybody or you don't post about it or you don't somehow support the movement, I mean, at least you're not hurting anybody. But damn, like for me, I realized I could have been having conversations for almost 20 years versus 3. I wish I'd started sooner. And so that's my whole goal is to find younger me's, find 15-year-old me, 18-year-old me, 22-year-old me. Be like, dude, you're awesome. Like, you can do this. Like, just go talk to people. Like put it out there. Wear the shirt. Wear a shirt. It's not that hard. Or wear a sock. My girlfriend wears socks all the time. And like, people will be like, "Ah, you're vegan. Your sock says vegan." And she'll be like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Whoa. I thought vegans were skinny and malnourished, but you look great." I'm like, "Oh, thanks." And then we just slowly change people's consciousness. We're not going to get the world to go vegan overnight. It might take another 100 years. Slavery in the United States was like 400 years. So we need to like start working towards it. It wasn't 400 years, 200 years. I don't know. Way too long. Either way, way too long. And so I think the more vegans can stand up and wear this message and put this message out.
I think that's a beautiful way to think about it as well in every way, shape, and form is no matter what kind of activism you're doing, like even if it's the smallest thing like wearing it on your socks, you're still doing something instead of, you know, kind of sitting indoors and kind of just hoping things will change over time. You kind of need to be that person out and about, even if you're not, you know, holding the TV, even if you are like, you know, in those kind of like the cubes or you're, you know, you're going out in the gym, you've got it on the side of your head, or you're just kind of doing something on Instagram just to help, you know, people become more aware. It's a beautiful way to think about it. And I think when it comes to bodybuilding, and I think this is why a lot of people kind of asked you actually to come onto the show, because we actually had 75 requests for you to come onto the show. um,
Oh,
from a few of the email campaigns to see who they want on, and you came up 75 times.
wow.
So I think a lot of people are clearly interested in either building muscle or bodybuilding as such, or just you in general, because you are a great guy to follow. It's always very entertaining to watch. But I think for the people that are kind of starting off on a journey, maybe it is just a bit of muscle building, maybe it is bodybuilding. What like I'm guessing you had a trial and error period. It's not just one day you were muscular. It doesn't work like that. There's trial and error always.
It is trial and error for sure. And really, full disclosure, I run a coaching company. I'm a coach. That's one thing bodybuilding has taught me is like I wanted to get better at bodybuilding, so I eventually hired my own coach, and I realized like, oh wow, I don't know a lot of stuff. I thought I knew because I'd researched it for 10 years, but there's a difference between like researching yourself and now I've been a coach. I've worked with like 500 people, so I have 500 data points to figure out, not just me and not just what I've read. So coaching, like whatever you're trying to do. I mean, I guess if you're trying to get good at podcasts, there's probably podcasting coaches. Trying to be in business coaches. For me, financial advisor, therapists, I consider them like more of like a life coach. I've had a life coach. So coaching can like really speed that up because I sincerely believe there's some 13-year-old out there that could follow my footsteps and in 20 years basically be where I'm at. Or I guess I've been bodybuilding for 18. So they could bodybuild for 18 and be where I'm at. But it's like, what if you hired a coach and you could do it in 5? Cut your time frame there in a third. So a lot of it is trial and error. And now when I started, it was mostly magazines, like I said earlier. Now there's the internet, which is great. And like I used to use Reddit quite a bit as some inspiration. But then I realized like there's a lot of people that have done research on Reddit, but not that have actually done the things. I mean, I posted my training split the other day, and this guy tried to tell me that I should change it to full body every 2 to 3 days, and I'd see better results. And I was like, oh, have you worked with any competing bodybuilders over 250 pounds? And they're like, no, I've just watched some YouTube videos. Great. Appreciate the honesty. I do this for a living. My coach is a pro. I think I've got my programming down. So like there's this thing where people think they know too much. And even myself, sometimes I think I know too much. And it's like you need to demonstrate what you know and also try to have as much of a clean slate as you can so you keep learning. It can be done a lot faster than I did. It's not going to take other people 18 years to do this, but there's so much trial and error for me. And back then there wasn't as much information, like the amount of protein that you should eat or what foods you should eat. So it was, I mean, like when I first got started, literally first day in the gym, 15 years old, 250-pound bodybuilder comes up to me and is like, oh, hey, tell me what you're doing. I share my split. He's like, oh, that's great. What are you eating? Well, I'm vegan, so I eat these things. He's like, oh, you're never going to build any muscle. You'll never grow. As long as you're vegan, you won't be able to do anything in here. And I was like, damn, first day in the gym, my dreams of, I've been working out at home doing push-ups and like, I think I had like an 80-pound barbell, like doing some stuff at home, but like, I guess I can't be a bodybuilder. Well, working out's fun. I'll just work out for fun. And then I realized like this guy was wrong. Like I was able to build some muscle. So I think like the fundamentals is what you want to focus on when you're getting started. Like tracking, like learn how to track your food because I eat a lot or I don't eat a lot. What's a lot? Like come on, everybody's different. People have different like built-in hunger cues. I've worked with tons of people on the skinny side and like they eat an apple and they're like, oh my god, I'm full for 5 hours. And then you got people like me that are like garbage disposals. I could eat an extra large pizza now and probably want cake in 30 minutes. Like that's just me. Like if I'm not careful, I'm going to be fat. So everybody's a little bit different on their like kind of set tendencies. But tracking your food and then tracking your workouts. And I'll just be honest with you, plant-based community or not, y'all need to train fucking harder. If you've never ended up on the floor or thrown up from training legs, you could train harder. I mean, if you've never done so many push-ups until you literally fall on the floor and can't move, you can train hard. Like as I alluded to before, I'll play positive or negative mind games. The positive mind game is when my client does 15 reps, I'll say, that's awesome, Cindy, like great. Now, if I was standing there with $100,000 in bags and I was going to give you one bag for every extra rep you got, how many could you have gotten that day? She's like, oh yeah, you'd be handing me $500,000. I was like, great. Next week, do 20. don't do any less. I'm not going to be able to hand you the money, but I'll be able to hand you the body you want. And so Cindy now has this, okay, I'm going to go earn this fake money. Or it's literally like, all right, you're at 15, you're tired. There's 5 cows standing in front of you. You got to shoot every one in the head for every rep you get less than them. So how many are you killing today? And it's like, I mean, if you have that mindset and you only get 19, like that's probably all you had to give. At least for me, like that would be a great motivator. If I was gonna have to like literally go kill a cow in the gym, if I didn't get a certain number of reps, like I'm either gonna get those reps or I'm gonna die trying. And so that mindset, like we're still at good form. You don't want to get injured or anything like that, but like, all right, I'm talking as a bodybuilder. If you're trying to do general fitness, you could probably throw out a lot of what I said. But if you're trying to build as much muscle as possible, the larger determining factor there really is intensity and how close you can get to failure. So, anyways, I was really long-winded, but I hope that I answered kind of the gist of where you're going.
With that, how much? Because obviously, for bodybuilders, you have to be eating a hell of a lot more than the average person. So, like, calorie wise or protein wise, I think both, to be fair, like what is your average day? Because for the average person it's like what, 2000, 2500 maybe, but for to keep building that muscle, that momentum, and to get bigger, it's more and more and more. It doesn't just plateau, you have to keep going.
Yeah, for the most part, that's true. I have seen this very weird phenomenon um, where, like, 4 years ago, when I hired my first coach, 5 years ago, and we really started bulking, I was on average at like 5,800 calories a day. And I haven't had to do that again since. It was almost like once I got to over 250 pounds, it's been easier to stay there. So like full disclosure right now, like I'm right around like 258, 260 on average in the mornings. I'm doing 370 grams of protein, 570 grams of carbs, 75 grams of fat. Now it's a ridiculously high amount of protein. I don't recommend anybody listening to this be like, oh, I want to look like you. I'm going to eat the same amount of protein. Like, I don't know. This is what I've just experimented with over the last 5 years. And that's the number I've kind of settled on based off other professional bodybuilders, rounding up a couple percentage points because maybe there are some crossover from the amino acids from plant proteins versus animal proteins, but still, I mean, like I think I'm in the range. And I think that's like 4,600-ish calories. I track the macros on the calories, but I think it's in that range. And I'm gonna have to keep pushing higher because I've been at that. I've been a little bit lower calories than that, and I keep adding, and my body weight hasn't moved, so I'm gonna have to go even higher. But that's kind of where I'm at. And for anybody listening, I think this is important. Should be put out there. I am not a natural bodybuilder. I use steroids and other PEDs to get this large, and we'll probably go down that rabbit hole in just a moment. But like, for example, everyone's different. And I've had a natural female bodybuilding competitor, shout out Greta, and she was eating like, I want to say 4,200 calories a day in the off season, staying lean at like 135 pounds. Everybody's a little bit different. I was like, "Are you really eating this much?" She's like, "I track everything. Like, I wouldn't cheat. She's a professional bodybuilder. Like, she's not going to cheat." So it was just like, God dang, I don't know where I'm going to feed you any more food. Like, I was in prep, and I'm like, "You're eating more than me. Like, I got 100 pounds on you. What the heck?" So everybody's a little bit different. Yeah, that's where
I
I'm at
think
food
with that,
wise.
how many meals is that to get that many calories? Because as we know, like obviously plants are less calorie dense. However, obviously we're gonna have to add in multiple other things like protein powders and like more kind of like soy chunks and things like that to get those calories, to get those aminos as well. We're not just living on beans, which is sometimes pushed that we can do that on beans, but I'm like, it's hard. If you want, if that was a possibility, it's fucking hard.
It's hard and it's gassy and it's smelly and it's uncomfortable. So no, and see, those are some of the trials that I had to learn. Is like, oh, you're a bodybuilder, just okay. You're vegan, okay. Beans are great, and see, I used to just track protein and or no, I used to just track protein. So like, I eat peanut butter and stuff, and I get a ton of calories from peanut butter without realizing. It's just where my calories are. I thought protein was the only thing that really mattered. Um, and so there's like just a few things I'll share, like conventional wisdom, like, oh, you're vegan, you should probably eat beans. Of course, lots of salads. And then, you're going to want, whole grain brown rice. quinoa, all those health foods. The problem is, if you're eating like that much food as a bodybuilder, those beans have some protein, but they have like an equal amount, if not more, of fiber. Same with the quinoa, same with the brown rice. And you will destroy your digestive system and the air quality for anyone within range of you. So I recommend, people don't do that and do things that sound like, oh my God, that's scary. Like, we're going to use TVP for your protein source. But I thought it had soy. Yes, it has soy. Soy is not bad for you. Soy is cardioprotective. Soy has phytoestrogens, not estrogen. If you're worried about estrogen, stop using plastic containers and stop drinking cow milk. And then other things that really shock people is like probably not going to use a lot of quinoa. Got to be careful on the vegetables. Stay away from broccoli. And don't do brown rice. Do white rice. People are like, oh my God, white rice? Like, I'm going to die. And it's like, no. White rice just doesn't have all the fiber that brown rice has, and it's an extremely easily digestible carb. So for me, I'm at almost 600 grams of carbs a day, split across 6 meals. 3 to 4 of my meals would be about 100 grams of carbs from rice, from white rice. And the way I look at it is like, to survive, I need this kind of base fruits, veggies, nuts, seeds, health foods. But to be a bodybuilder that gets 4,000 calories more than survival, I need foods that digest well. So I do 6-ish meals a day. I would say 5 of them are like what people would traditionally think of as meals, and then one of them is half of it is like my intra-workout shakes with some carbs while I drink while I'm training, and then a protein smoothie bowl after. So I count that as one meal because it's like 600 calories, but when you add the two, so it's really, I guess, technically 7 feedings in a day if you include that thing that I'm drinking while I train.
Was there a lot of like reverse engineering, I guess? You see people in the gym are kind of like what they're eating a bit like, how can I make this vegan? Because they're doing this, they're building this muscle, and they're eating this. So how can I recreate that by kind of reverse engineering and being like, hey, maybe I have to swap this out for something else, but the rest stays the same?
So much, yes. So some of this is science based and some of it is just like experience based. And like when I had my first meal plan ever written by my cousin at 14 years old, like I was ending wrestling and getting into weightlifting, there was, you know, chocolate milk on there. And he's like, but you could probably do soy chocolate milk. And the whole thought process was like, you want to do chocolate milk after you work out because it has like real chocolate milk. It has sugar from the chocolate, it has protein from the milk, and it's going to help you recover. And like, I think that's a whole bunch of vegan baloney. But I'll do, at that time I do vegan, I do soy chocolate milk. And that was like the first time I had reverse engineered something. But now I'll look at what professional bodybuilders are doing, and that's where I got the rice idea. I don't know any other vegans that are eating as much white rice as I am. I also don't know any other vegans as large as I am. So I found it digested really well. And then the kind of the same things, like back end it for the protein, like what protein sources digest the best. And kind of this is what I'll say as a coach. Like I've not been able to find a single like formula that works for everyone. Some people can digest tofu really well, but they can't digest tempeh. Some people can do tempeh, but they can't do TVP. Some people can do TVP, but they have a hard time with seitan. Some people can do seitan, but they don't really like how they feel after doing like pea protein. Like I just haven't found a way to like look at somebody or other than trial and error. Like we're going to try these proteins at these meals. Let me know how to digest. And then if it doesn't work, we'll swap them. Everybody's different. Like even my girlfriend's different than me, who's different than my best friend, who's different than my client. I've kind of reverse engineered those aspects of finding what proteins work the best. Fats are pretty easy. Avocados, nuts, seeds seem to work for everybody unless you have an allergy. But then even like a little bit deeper, like when I was getting ready for my show, non-vegan bodybuilders will have honey backstage right before getting on stage. I don't know if honey is the best thing. It's just what a lot of them will use. And so I'm like, okay, well, what does honey have? Like honey is basically, it's about best of my knowledge, like sugar. It's a carbohydrate source. Consistency wise, it's liquid. It's not powder. It's pretty dense, like not that much honey. It has a pretty good amount of calories. So I'm like, okay, you're trying to stay dry, so you don't want to like drink a Gatorade. You want something a little bit with less liquid. All right, so how can I reverse engineer this? So I'm like trying to think. I'm like, well, maybe like maple syrup kind of looks the same. It's sweet. Then I was like, well, let's dive a little bit deeper. Let's go check the glycemic index of honey. And then I checked the glycemic index of maple syrup. Way off. Like maple syrup was way higher. I was like, all right, we need something less. So I think I looked at molasses, and I think it was still high. I was like, all right, well, what else can I do? And I just started like playing. I was like, well, maybe there's like a fruit syrup that would be close. And I found date syrup, almost exact same glycemic index. It is a sticky, pretty calorie dense, sweet tasting thing. And so that's what I used at my show. I'm like, do I know if that's the best? I don't know, but like that's my best guess to find a vegan alternative that would still allow for the I guess those same results of having the magic honey before the show.
And steroids earlier.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a big topic for a lot of people. Is kind of like, hey, would you are steroids vegan? I think a lot of people come up with, and then has like, without those, can you still build the size? And obviously, we know we've there's many other bodybuilders in the field that are natural that have size. So yeah.
Thank you for asking. I'm sure everybody's on the edge of their seat waiting for the steroids questions to come. I never wanted to use steroids. I was a bodybuilder for about 8 years first before using any PED for a while. I was like anti every drug. I didn't do artificial sweeteners. I didn't do caffeine for a few years. And then, I don't know, started drinking coffee. But I competed naturally. I went from like 200 pounds down to 155 pounds over the course of 8 months. I didn't have a coach, did way too much cardio. And for like the next year, I was unable to get any of my size or strength back. I was like pudgier, different body composition. It didn't matter my sleep, didn't matter my training. Like all the progress I had been able to make in the past, I was killing myself and not making anywhere near the same progress. So I waited a year. And then I was like, all right, dude, you're still not getting erections. Like something's wrong. I went to the doctor, got blood work done. Testosterone was pretty darn low. Clinically low enough to get prescribed testosterone legally. I didn't want to do it. I wanted to see if there are other options because I wanted to compete as a natural bodybuilder. That's where I thought my place was. But then I realized, like, honestly, like TRT injections, testosterone injections were probably the best bet for me. And so I started this on like a medically prescribed doctor journey. And then my doctor sucked and accused me of using steroids and said that was the reason I was there. And that I just wanted to use steroids just like all my friends. And I'm like, what friends? So I'm asking a question. I'm like, how do I inject this? Like, do I put this in my glute? And she's like, don't do it like the guys at the gym. You do it in your leg. And I'm like, I don't know how the guys at the gym do it. I've never seen this shit before. So I felt so like attacked by her that I was like, I can figure out how to do this on my own. And then I was able to figure out how to do it on my own. And that was like kind of where my journey started. Like it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be this top level bodybuilder. I have to use these drugs. It was more of, I'm facing some health consequences. What are my options? And I people now, of course, like, well, you had all those issues because you went vegan. I'm like, nah, dude. Like, I was natural, vegan, squatting squatting like 4 plates a side, like 405 for reps at 20 years old. I was able to bench 3 plates on each side at 20 years old. Like, I was doing pretty solid, especially for the lack of knowledge and education that was apparent at the time. I was doing pretty good before I decided to compete and just absolutely murder myself with cardio and starve I looked honestly like I had been in a concentration camp. I looked very unwell. My parents were like concerned. And so I think that's what happened. I think like I've seen it happen in other competitors, other naturals, where they just destroy their natural hormones from competing. So anyways, at that point in time, I was like, well, shoot, natural bodybuilding's out. Once you do your first shot, you're no longer natural. And some of these are like lifetime natural competitions. So I was like, well, I'll just keep pluckering away and just keep bodybuilding and just do my own thing. And then after a while, I was like, well, what if I did more? What if I wanted to compete as a vegan on steroids? Maybe I'll try this. And I kind of went down that road. But I think, you asked some really solid questions. Are steroids vegan? Well, I'll ask you, like, should I might ask you right now, do you consider Tylenol to be?
I would say so.
Okay. Well, then you and I are in alignment here. Apparently some people on Reddit say I'm not vegan because if you ever use anything that was ever tested on animals, then you're not vegan. It's like, well, okay, that rules out every single prescription drug ever.
It ruled out the majority of things in life. Like we don't get to where we've been or where we are now without, something happening, and something happening in the past doesn't justify it now. But at the same time, these things have happened and they put us to where we are in this position at this moment in time. So if they've been tested 100 years ago, 50 years ago, yeah, like it's shit, but it is what it is.
That's how I view it. Like testosterone, I believe, was started to be tested in the 1930s, 1940s. Like there's no way they're still testing testosterone on animals unless it's some odd study, but not for safety, you know? Like, so my thought process is I'm no less vegan if I use steroids than if I use Tylenol after I got my tooth removed. Like I hate that those things were tested on animals, but also, you know, from a utilitarian standpoint, like I guess we could have tested them on people instead, but like, is that fair either? Like, either way, somebody's going to have to suffer. But I think we need these medical advancements, and I don't think we should be testing like makeup on animals. Or something. I don't know. Anyways, and that is where the crux is. Like the actual ingredients for the steroids, yams, soybeans, like they're made from plants. So the actual ingredients are vegan. And then people, I guess, I mean, a lot of the stuff that I get is made from unregulated labs. So they're probably not running around testing on their test animals. Like it's, in all intents and purposes, vegan. Like I'll go as far to if I get something like oral based, I'll make sure that I get a tablet instead of a gelatin capsule. I mean, that's just how intense I am about being vegan. Like, I will make sure I go with something if there is. I mean, if there isn't a vegan option, I'm not going to do it. So that's where I'm at there. And then the next question, like, could you have done any of this without steroids? Well, I mean, I got pretty far by 20. It's like 200 pounds, pretty strong. Um, But that's where my journey ended. I can't tell you how far I would have gone. I can tell you, I sincerely don't think I'd be this large. I'm at that point where I sincerely don't believe anybody that's lean, 250 plus pounds at 6 feet tall is natural. And that's okay. I mean, like, you should do what fits for you. I don't think anybody should watch this and be like, oh, I'm going to use steroids. Like, I researched this for like 5 years before I went down this path. I get blood work regularly. I don't ever miss my cardio. I spend more money on health supplements. Like it's honestly a giant pain in the ass, literally and figuratively. So I don't. I try to talk people out of it. I don't encourage it. Um, but for me, it's what this is, and what I am is what I try to be the guy that I wish I could have seen when I was younger. Because when I was younger, I was looking at people like Arnold, you know, or maybe the new people are looking at Chris Bumstead, and like that's who they want to be. There was nobody in the vegan community. Like, I looked up to Robert Cheek. He was natural though.
Mm.
I love Robert way bigger because I'm using these drugs that allow me to push further. Um, and so I don't have anyone to really look to for inspiration right now. Like I hope somebody surpasses me soon because I've seen genetics and I've seen guys that can get way bigger than me. I think I've done all right, but people could surpass this. They just haven't tried. I don't think any other vegans that have been this serious about bodybuilding have tried. I guess there's just not enough people doing it. Everybody tells you can't. I've met so many pros that tell me that I can't. I've met so many other people in the world that are even beyond where I'm at that just say you can't do it. It's not possible. But I don't believe that. I don't think this is holding me back. I also think for those guys, for those really big guys, or people that are serious about bodybuilding, like we already know steroids are bad for your heart. We already know meat is bad for your heart. Like if you're gonna use steroids, at least do it plant-based. Even if you're not vegan, do it plant-based for yourself. And I think that we could extend some longevity and save some lives over time, or at least give some time back to people if people in the bodybuilding world would consider going plant-based.
I love how open you are with it as well, because I feel like it's such a taboo subject sometimes that people kind of like you try to move away from it, or just kind of like a lot of people just skirt around the question. But it's very much, it is what it is. You are on them, and like, you're not hiding it, and I think that's more honest and and disciplined than a lot of other people who do just kind of skirt around it and just lie about it.
And what would shock you is like 20 to 30% of all guys you see in the gym are using some type of performance enhancing drug, whether it's direct injectable steroids or it's SARMs or it's pro hormones. Most every single, probably 1 to 2 out of every 10 are. And I can say this because I've had so many clients. I had some guy that was 350 pounds, hadn't been to the gym in over a year, truck driver getting like 2,000 steps a day. And on my intake form, I said, list any current prescribed or non-prescribed medications. And he tells me this laundry list of a cycle that he's been running for a year and a half. I'm like, wait, you said you haven't been to the gym in a year. He's like, yeah, no, I don't lift. I'm like, why are you taking all these drugs that you need to cycle off of for your health? Like, this is like not good for long term. He's like, oh, I just thought it would help me get there faster. And I'm like, what? But
You
then
still have to
also
do the
like,
work to get there.
yeah, and it's almost like building a house, and the steroids are maybe like, I don't know, like painting the roof, like, or the roof in general. Like, if you don't have a foundation, if you don't have walls, like a roof ain't gonna do much for you. And in this case, like, if your training isn't locked in, dialed in, if your sleep isn't locked in, if your food isn't locked in, no amount of drugs are going to help you. And I have a few examples of that. I have plenty of guys that have come to me running reasonable doses that don't look good. That I have plenty of natural clients that look way better. That are way stronger. Natural female clients that are stronger than these guys using drugs because they don't know how to train or they don't know how to eat. Or younger me, I used to like I'm like 750 test right now, 650 primo. That's what I'm running. And I've done almost double that with other compounds in the past at 30 pounds lighter, not knowing how to eat, didn't grow. So you can take like all these people are like, oh, you just take drugs and it's magic. Like, no, the first cycle I ever did was like the most let down and disappointed I'd ever been in my life because I realized like I'm not going to be Ronnie Coleman overnight. It's going to take a lot longer than I expected. Like I barely changed. I'm like, man, this sucks. And now probably I could have optimized some things, but like even just at a beginner stage, just the drugs alone aren't going to do anything if you don't have other things lined up. And a lot of times I'll have clients that are like, oh, I feel like I've done everything I can. Maybe I should just take drugs to get to the next level. And I'm like, no. This is not a Band-Aid. Like, you need to be making progress. You need to be making progress and achieving things and doing things right, and then add this to speed that progress up. It can't be done on its own. And I think the other like big thing that I want to put out here is like you can get very far as a natural athlete. You can get very strong. I just hung out with some guys that are squatting almost 700 pounds, deadlifting in the 700s, benching in the 400s, all natural. Lifetime natural, compete as naturals. You guys can get really big and strong naturally. You don't have to use these drugs. And a lot of people don't have the other things maxed out. And my whole point of doing this isn't to say, oh, yeah, it sucks being vegan. You have to use drugs to get big. It's no. I want to show all the people that were like younger me or all the people that are currently using drugs to be the biggest bodybuilders in the world, you don't have to kill animals to do it too. Just because everybody's told you you have to eat animal meat, you have to drink whey protein, you don't have to do that to be a 250-pound bodybuilder. You will have to use drugs. You don't have to kill animals. And that's my point. My point is not to encourage people to follow in my footsteps. It's more of let's break some barriers. Like, we already got natural vegan bodybuilders killing it, winning shows. Why don't we prove to the world that vegans could still be top level bodybuilders, even in the non-natural ranks? And I think a lot of vegans are just inherently also concerned about health. And so I get it. I get why a lot of vegans won't use drugs. And that's their choice. I would never push anybody to do it. But I don't think being vegan holds you back. One.
Yeah, beautifully said. John, thank you so much for being here. It's been an absolute pleasure. For the people that want to know more about you, want to work with you, want to find you, want to just, stalk your Instagram, where can people find you?
I'm pretty much everywhere at the Bodybuilding Vegan. So Instagram, Bodybuilding Vegan. If you don't have Instagram and you want to find my website, it's very simple. It's thebodybuildingvegan.com. What I will do too is anybody that's listening to this, you have so much power. You have so much ability to shape and change the world while you're here. And I would ask you to be better than me. Don't spend the majority of your life waiting to figure out what's important to you, waiting to speak about it. If you're vegan and you care about the animals, put that message out there. Whatever way that is. If it's just sharing a story, if it's DMing a friend, if it's wearing a shirt, you guys can all do better than me. And I appreciate everybody that steps up to make the world a better place. There's a quote that stuck with me for a long time, so I'll leave it here. It might stick with some people. We don't inherit the world from our parents, borrow it from our children. And with that mindset, I think that we can all live a little bit more in alignment with our truth.
Beautiful. I love that. John, I'm grateful for you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Colin, for having me on here. I do feel a little bit guilty. I feel like maybe we could come for part two where I ask you some questions. But
That's no worries at all. We can do a part two one point.
okay, well, and I'm just going to be honest. It might be easy to think some of this goes to my head, but like I'm floored. 75 people requested this. Like I just can't even imagine that. Like it's hard to believe because I'm still just that 13-year-old kid that's like figuring shit out. Um, but I just want to say I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for your listeners, and I just want to make the world a little bit of a better place before I go. And so thank you for giving me a moment, and more than a moment. You gave me over an hour of your time, and that's the only thing that we can't get back. So thank you, Cal, sincerely for your time.